etymology of the words shall and will. I don't know if you have ever thought about it, but when language appeared, people wouldn't create a word like however, you know? Let's imagine we are a bunch of people, we are living in a cavern, you know, and we don't have language yet, and the first word we're going to create is but, even though, no, not only because those words are fancy and etc., but because they are extremely abstract. Even the word end. You know, what is end? Can you draw an end to me? You know? So those words are extremely, extremely abstract. Okay. So probably, what were our first words? Probably they were nouns, okay? Because I am a, let's say, semi-monkey, okay? I am a Homo sapiens under development, or I am a species before that, and I look at this thing here. I point to this thing and say, "Ora," all right? And you look at me, and you know we sometimes make some sounds to say that we are angry, or to say that we are happy. We know that because of the intonation, etc. But every time I point to this, I say "ora," and by an epiphany, you know, by an act of a miracle, you look at the thing, and you point and you say "ora," right? So we've created the first word. Okay, we look at the fire, we say "atra," right? And that's a nice thing. Okay, why am I telling you this? What does that have to do with shall and will? If you think about it, grammar words, let's call them this way, like and, however, shall, will, and etc., they have to have come from more concrete words, you know? For example, the word tomorrow in English came from morrow. Morrow is actually the day, starting, so it's like the sunrise. So keep in mind, we are again two primitive men. We look at the day, starting. We look at the sun rising. We can point at each other, even though the concept is a little bit abstract. We can point at the sky and etc. and say morrow. Okay, that's a pretty concrete word. Now think about it. Tomorrow is very abstract. We're talking about the future here, So what can we do? And what happened, We can think about the next morrow. So it's tomorrow. Okay, so that's how actually the word started, right? We would say, when are you going to do that? Oh, I'm going to do that in direction to the next sunrise. Tomorrow, okay? Okay, so if we keep that process of abstraction in mind, it's very interesting to know that there was a moment in the history of the English language where will and shall were concurrent forms of saying something in the future. Just like nowadays, I can say I'm going to work tomorrow, I'm gonna work tomorrow, right? Or I will work tomorrow. In the past, it was very common. We could say I shall work tomorrow, I will work tomorrow, you shall not pass, you will not pass. Okay, those would be concurrent forms. There is another video here about will, and we know that will is related to desire. Okay, that's why we have the word free will, we have the word willpower, we have the word will as a testament, be willing to. Okay, what is shall related to? Shall is related to, of course, there are many steps in the evolution of this word if we start walking, let's say, backwards. But we get to a point in Proto-Indo-European that we find the word shall coming from skell, that means to be under obligation. Okay, and then later on in the Germanic variations and the Old Germanic, the idea was always something like that: owe somebody something, to be under an obligation to do something. Okay, but then of course the next question is, what does that meaning have to do with future? How could we get the meaning of future out of to be under an obligation? And of course we could ask the same question regarding will. What does desire have to do with future? Think about it. If you are thinking about something that is going to happen in the future, you can face that possibility in two ways. Future is what I want to happen. Okay? Future is what my desire says. So in other words, I will work tomorrow means I have the desire to work tomorrow, therefore this will happen in the future. I shouldn't be using will, right? I have the desire to work tomorrow, therefore this thing tomorrow is a reality. Okay? Therefore my desire determines the way I think about future. If you have shall as your main particle for future, it means there are some things that must be done. You know, I am under an obligation, for example, to do this and that and that. There is something outside myself that tells me I should do this and that and that. And what is the future? The future is what must be done, not what I desire, what I will. Okay? It's what I am under an obligation to do. And of course, it's a lot of speculation here, but we could think about the fact that shall lost. Nowadays, we don't use shall anymore. Of course, just if we're reading Shakespeare or the Bible, people always use will to express the future, meaning that the future is what our desire tells us to do and not a moral obligation or not something bigger than ourselves that will tell us what to do. I'm not saying, of course, that people that use will are thinking about that. For example, a person that uses will cannot be religious, or a person that uses shall is a person that has, you know, morals and that are outside himself. No, of course not. But those meanings are there in the layers of meaning of those words, and I think it's interesting to think about them, right?